What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Five-Star Stylist, the podcast where we turn mistakes into mentorship. This episode almost didn't happen, and speaking of almost didn't happen, this past Saturday, I did a 5K, which almost didn't happen. I woke up at 5 in the morning. Lots of fives going on here. I woke up at 5 in the morning from a really vivid dream. And by the time I tried to figure out what the interpretation of that dream was, it was 6 a.m. And I knew that I was registered for a race, but I didn't want to do it because I knew I hadn't prepared for it and I had been eating and drinking and having a hot boy summer. That being said, I did go and do this race, and I got more out of it than I anticipated, and I wanted to share that with you. So here are 5 things that I learned from running a 5K on the podcast, Becoming a Five-Star Stylist. Um, so number one, run from the inside out. By the way, this is going to be applicable to business, but the race felt like an analogy to business, and so I want to kind of utilize the lessons that I took from this race to hopefully allow someone or offer to someone to implement into their business. So back to it. Number one is run from the inside out. So what I noticed early on was that this was the first race that I had ever done alone. So I wasn't running alongside my friends or anyone. I was just running my own race. And at a certain point, that was probably maybe a half a mile or so in, I noticed that I was incredibly fatigued. And so what I did was I stopped. Finally, I knew that I should have. I knew I wanted to, but in fitness, you always want to push yourself. But eventually, I was like, no, there's no way that I have enough in the tank to finish this race like this. So I have to stop. So I walked. And when I started walking, it was the first time that I felt present in my body. I was only paying attention to me. I watched all these people breeze past me, and I recognized that they're all running their own race. No one is looking at me like, yeah, loser, look at you. Like, none of the above happened. And so, in that moment, I realized how externally focused I was, that the way that I breathed and the way that I was sucking my stomach in and the way that I was pushing myself to not look like the person who had to stop first, all went out the window. And I just met myself where I was, and I was okay with that. And I think that in today's culture, where everyone has an Instagram page, everyone has social media, everyone is positioning themselves to sometimes be even more than they are competitively, because the beauty industry is becoming somewhat competitive. But ultimately, everyone is running their own race. And even if you are great at positioning yourself as someone more knowledgeable or any of the things, the truth always prevails. So even though I showed up dressed, looking like someone who was going to win a race, I all but lost the race. And so I had to just be real with myself and recognize that I had to run from the inside out and remain present. Number two, which I'm going to piggyback off of number one with, this is my race. My time is information. Nobody else cares about my score, and what my time is not my identity. And the same thing applies to business, in the sense that whatever you choose to do professionally, however you show up professionally, is data. And even if you give your best, like I talked about in my most recent episode, where I gave this woman the best that I could give and she still ripped me to shreds, that was a lesson that I applied to my future self. A lesson on boundaries, a lesson on professionalism, a lesson on what I choose to offer as a professional hairstylist. So everything is a teachable moment, and I think that that's the most important takeaway is ownership. Compete with your previous performance. Use the scoreboard to decide what to improve next. Number three, every single person from the winner of the race to the very last person all finished a race that day. And within the parameters of those metrics, yes, there is a winner and a loser, or a winner and hundreds of losers if you want to measure it that way. But ultimately, everyone who ran that race did better than the people who registered and didn't show up. And the people that registered and didn't show up did better than the people who didn't even bother to register. There's always a metric for comparison to put things into perspective. And so, yes, I did not do my very best overall at that race, but I gave my very best. And most importantly, I showed up, which means a lot more than the people who have analysis paralysis, or perfectionism stops them from doing the thing, even if you do it badly, even if you do it wrong. Just showing up means so much more to your future self than trying to theorize your way to perfection so that you can one day show up perfectly. That's not realistic. You can't think your way into being perfect. You have to go ahead and make those mistakes. And for me, this race showed me exactly where I was so that I could then show up better for myself in the future. Number 4, excellence is least. By that, I mean that as great as you are as a runner, as a hairstylist, as a speaker, as an athlete, period, you don't get to maintain that. If I get my body into tip top shape, six pack, amazing pecs, teeny tiny waist, nice butt, nice legs, nice delts and shoulders, and all of the good things, right? And then I stop working out, I don't get to keep that body. It may stick around for a little while, but that level of excellence is a lease. You're renting it, and you have to pay the bill or you will lose it. And this one is especially important to me as it pertains to beauty, because so many stylists have gone to school, gotten the education, and did nothing else. Some of those stylists have invested in education once or twice and don't want to do it again. Maybe you got burned by investing in someone who didn't give you everything you thought you were going to get. But what's most important is to set aside money to always invest in your education, to always be excellent, and to maintain your excellence, because if you don't use it, you will lose it. I've seen stylists who were phenomenal in their day but never evolve with the times and the trends to style the way women love to wear their hair today. And I've watched their clientele shrink and dwindle off because there was intake. There was just maintaining the clients that they had until they eventually completely went away. And so it's just really important to understand that this is your craft. And if you're passionate about it, it's worth whatever money you spend with the right person. And I didn't intend on going further into this, but I do just want to say, because there are so many people who shop by price, I don't want to vilify anyone shopping by price, but I do just want to offer the benefits of shopping by quality. Yes, you'll pay more for a K-tip class from a certain someone, from a D. Michelle, from a Carrie Austin, from a Hair by Esther, from Vicky B out in LA. You will pay more, but you will also gain more. So spending $37 on a 30-minute video with a lot of missing parts is not the same investment as spending $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 on an extensive modular education that is going to not only show you how to do it practically, but also how to speak the language of the client that you intend on attracting. So that being said, I didn't even mean to go this far into this, but I don't want anyone to be burned by the wrong investments. There are plenty of people out there that you can invest in, and of the four women I just named, I've invested in three, and I plan on investing in the fourth one too, just because I love her work so much, and she loves mine too. She already admires my work, but I just want to invest simply because there is something great to gain from her presence. I could have probably done a whole episode just on investing. That being said, the first three, if that's all I did, was enough for me to realize that investing in the right place gives a return. So the money I've spent on these classes has come back to me 100-fold. And I didn't even mean to plug them, but shout out to all of them. Seriously, they're amazing, phenomenal business women that have all taken the time and been incredibly intentional about the education that they offer. And there's a big difference between the cash grab girls and the stewards of excellence and money. So without further ado, let's go to number 5, which is that comparison is the thief of joy. So to go all the way back to the race analogy, I spent so much time out of my body looking at everyone else. I spent so much time not even tracking what was happening with my body because I wanted to make sure that I looked as good as the guy at the front of the race. And I didn't want to be embarrassed because I didn't want my sister, who had an injury, to catch up with me because I wanted to keep going. I didn't want my score to be less than what I got for my second 5K that I did a few months ago. And all of this comparison completely robbed me of the day until I stopped and I literally just said, thank you, God. My prayer is always thank you. It's not, ooh, Lord, please, my lungs burning, Lord, help me. Ooh, Lord, soothe my lungs. Jesus, be a menthol, Vicks vapor rub. That's not what I identify prayer as. For me, it is simply thank you. Wow. You woke me up and you put me here and you have blessed me with so many lessons just for the sake of being here. I could have been in tip-top shape and got the medal as the number 1 runner, and that would have been great, don't get me wrong. But instead, I came here in the shape that I was in, and I still gained something. Perhaps something that no one else in that race did gain. And for that, as cliche as it sounds, for that, I feel like a winner. Because I gained lessons directly from God himself, prayers answered, and also the information that showed me exactly where I am. Comparison is the thief of joy because if I'm focused externally, I'm missing things professionally. So let's take it back to business. If I'm in a salon working alongside people and I'm trying to do my thing, here's a real good one actually. So I'm in a salon and I am just doing natural hair. Press and curls, silk presses is what you all call it now. I'm doing my silk presses, and right next to me is someone doing wigs. And I'm seeing them and they're just moving, busting those wigs out, making money. So I'm watching them and I'm like, you know what? I need to get my speed up. Because I want to make that kind of money. And so I'm skipping steps and cutting corners just to get clients out, and my work is suffering for it. And before I notice it, I'm actually starting to lose clients because the standard in which they have become accustomed to has gone down. All of a sudden, their presses aren't lasting as long, or the blow dry is starting to be uncomfortable. It's starting to burn their scalp, things like that, all because I'm trying to race somebody else running their own race. And for the record, winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. How did I show up in the race? I was focused on the winners. That's not me. And the thing that came to me, and I meant to say this in point number one, is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I really had to look at myself. Why are you comparing yourself to other people? Now, in hair, I've gained the confidence. I don't compare myself to others. I compete with myself. I'm not saying that I'm the best, but I am very happy with how I've established myself professionally. But in a realm where I'm not the guy, I'm not I'm not Tyson Gay. I don't know. I can't think of any other runners. I'm not Hussein Bolt. I'm not the guy at running. And because I'm a loser in running, I'm looking at the winners. It's not all bad though, because while I was looking at the winners, something else that stood out to me is I bet you they didn't have a McGriddle for breakfast today. I bet you when they go home, they're not going to reheat pizza. I bet you they limit their alcohol intake, and I bet you when they do have alcohol, it's not sugary. I bet you they never drink Sprite. I bet you they certainly don't eat apple pie like it's actual apples. I bet you they go to the gym at least 4 times a week, probably closer to 5 or 6. I bet some of them even work out 7 days a week. So yeah, I compare myself in that sense only to align myself, and that's the difference. If you start to establish envy, if you start to develop jealousy from someone, or as a result of comparing yourself to someone, you're doing it wrong. But if you look at someone and say, what are they doing that I'm not doing? What could I do to experience the level of success as that person? I think that's a more healthy approach to comparison. And that type of comparison isn't a thief of joy. It's a vehicle for positive change. So that being said, I hope that there's something that stood out to you. I would love to hear about it in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. I thought this was a really cool concept simply because running a race and being in an arena that I'm not typically excellent at gave me perspective on how I show up when I'm feeling insecure. And I think that that is invaluable information. That being said, I talk about things like this and have created an online community called the 5-Star Stylist Community. And we share recipes, share all types of information, pitfalls, successes, everything that would facilitate improvement in the beauty industry, because ultimately that's what I want. Thank you guys for listening. And remember that being a 5-star stylist is not about perfection. It's about correction when and where applicable, because that is the 5-star standard. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, keep it 5 stars.